standard when it comes
to... Well, we're here today because we want to educate the public about the need to become active to save our public schools. The Green Party is dedicated to participatory democracy, and the foundation for participatory democracy is our public schools. There is an agenda across the country led by hedge fund operators and billionaires to privatize our public schools. As it is today, every child born in the United States is entitled to a free public education through high school. If this agenda that Mayor Bloomberg is part of to privatize the public schools is successful, no child will be entitled to a free education. And therefore, very few children will be able to go to school, to pay the price to go to a private school.
And we're here today because the Greens, along with many other parents and educators in New York City, are outraged that the mayor feels that somebody without any prior education experience is qualified to run one of the largest school systems in the United States. And so if we feel that if he feels that somebody without any education experience is qualified to run our school system, then educators should be qualified to run the media empire that Ms. Black recently was chair of, Hearst Media. And so we have a number of people today: Betty Davis, Tony Gronowitz, Elizabeth Shanklin, Gloria McCara, Tom Syracuse, who are educators who are going to be applying for Ms. Black's job. And we're going to just very briefly have statements from each of them, and then we're going to go in and have them apply. First is Professor Tony Gronowitz, I believe.
Right, I have 42 years in education from junior high to university, and I'm a native New Yorker, written on New York, ran for mayor against Mike Bloomberg in 2005 on the Green Party line, and I feel that Cathie Black has absolutely no experience. She lives at 81st and Park Avenue. She lives a half a block from PS6, where I went to school, where my daughter went to school. Instead, she sent her children to boarding schools in Connecticut. So I find this outlandish that someone with no experience, who's working for the Hearst Corporation, and Hearst, after all, built his fortune. One of the ways he built his fortune was providing Hitler and Mussolini with columns in his newspapers in the 1930s, which led to Orson Welles' great film. So with 42 years experience in publishing and writing, and a native New Yorker, I love New York, I jog the park, and I find it offensive that somebody who has no experience dealing with the public is appointed by our high-handed mayor who has no regard for the people. You look at all the demographics, especially in education. It's unfair to blame the 132,000 people who work for the school system in New York for the failures of starving public education here. That's what they've done, starve public education. And I feel that the candidates here are all eminently qualified to assume this position of running the media empire that Hearst built. Thank
Our
you.
next speaker is Elizabeth Shanklin, who is a retired New York City school teacher.
Good morning. I have over 30 years experience. I'm a retired English teacher. I actually worked for a publisher for a year and a half. And I am shocked and dismayed that the mayor has succeeded in assigning a woman who has no pedagogical experience, who has no background as an educator, to lead professional educators in New York City. I shouldn't have been shocked, nor should any of us have been shocked, because if we examine the mayor's agenda, his agenda is part of a national agenda to privatize the public schools. What does this mean? Today, every child has the right to go to a public school from elementary school through high school. If the mayor and other billionaires and hedge fund operators are successful, no child in this country will have the right to an education. What will this mean for our democracy? We must all wake up. It will mean the end of participatory government in the United States. And that is why the Green Party is here, because we stand for participatory democracy. And we must save the public schools if we are going to maintain that and hand it on to our children. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Betty Davis, who has 41 years as a teacher and administrator in the New York City school system.
I first want to let you know that I started out teaching in Harlem in the 60s. And at that time, most of us were told, in spite of any kind of success we had had prior as educators, that we could not have administrative positions. They used the term qualifications as an excuse to keep us out of the system. So once again, we see the hydra head of racism being raised, with Bloomberg now saying we can have waivers to hire people who are not qualified for the system. Once again, we're confronted with this double standard when it comes to racism. Secondly, as we have pointed out, our candidate for 2008, Cynthia McKinney in the Green Party, said, our government has been hijacked by the corporations. Our Supreme Court has been hijacked by the corporations. Now they're hijacking our public school system, and we cannot allow it. Community control, not mayoral control. Public schools, not charter schools. We're asking you to join us in this struggle and allow us to join you. Who are we? We're the Green Party. We're on the cutting edge of all human rights and social justice issues in this country. One of the reasons I joined the Green Party in the 70s is that I was disgusted by the attempt to destroy the public school system by the Republican Democratic juggernaut of the 60s in the form of decentralization. And now they're coming back again with privatizations. Don't kid yourself, it's one party. It's a corporation party. It's the Democrats and the Republicans. And we have to stand for public commons. If they take your public schools, they're destroying the basic public commons for the foundation of democracy. By the way, I have 3 masters. I've downloaded my article on publishing, and I'm applying for Cathie's job. Thank you.
Up next is Gloria Matera, an educator, a parent, and most recently the Green Party Lieutenant Governor candidate.
Hi everyone, I'm Gloria Matera. I have extensive experience in education, 2 master's degrees in education from Bank Street College. I have a son in the public school system. I've been on the school leadership team and co-president, vice president of my PTA. So I think I'm highly qualified to apply for Cathie Black's position. I'm here to ask the Hearst Corporation to offer me a waiver in terms of the requirements that they have to hire someone for chair and accept my application. You will see if you review my resume that I am absolutely unqualified to run a publishing company, which is exactly what Cathie Black is to run the New York City public school system. 1 million children of diverse backgrounds and hard-working teachers who don't have the resources and the support that they need to be able to do this very important job. Mayor Bloomberg and his cronies think that that's not necessary to have relevant experience. I would ask the Hearst Corporation to do the same thing. But the truth is, the Hearst Corporation wouldn't even consider my resume. They won't consider that I have the requirements. They won't lower their requirements to be chair of their corporation. But they want someone with experience, with training, with skills in their area of publishing. That's exactly what we demand for our next New York City's public school chancellor. We demand that they have the experience, the skills, the education, the training to be able to lead the largest public school system in the country. We think that the Green Party and others think that hiring Cathie Black as the next New York City's public school chancellor is the wrong decision, and we intend to voice our opposition, to continue voicing our opposition to this terrible, terrible injustice to our children and their parents. Thank you.
And then our last applicant is Tom Syracuse, also retired New York City school teacher.
I taught over 30 years as a public high school teacher. I'm retired. Right now I'm the co-chair of the Manhattan local of the Green Party, and I'm going to apply for the position to be vacated by Cathie Black. as head of the magazine division of Hearst Corporation. Although I have no experience either in business or in publications, I welcome the opportunity that Mayor Bloomberg, a leading figure in the mass media, has given to those to head an agency with no prior experience in that field. I did take out this book from the library. I'll hope to read it to get some idea of what publication is all about. And perhaps if I get this job, Hearst will appoint a deputy to help me out. As the mayor pointed out, he feels that Mrs. Black is eminently qualified to head the public school system because her experience in business will fit into his plan to organize public education into a top-down business model. Therefore, I believe that businesses like Hearst Publications would benefit greatly by having a person like me who believes in a bottom-up democratic model. I would urge Hearst to democratize its operation by giving its workers the right to elect their supervisors, including the company's top management. This would put Hearst in touch with the needs of the majority of the American people. Hearst would expose the corruption of our economic and political system and give a voice to the voiceless. Hearst would put forth the programs of independent parties such as the Greens, which are frozen out of the mass media, and I'm glad that you all are here, by the way, frozen out of the mass media, but which advocate solving the economic crisis by bailing out Main Street, not Wall Street, and by getting off dirty fossil fuels in favor of clean solar and wind energy. And Hearst would become a beacon. I believe there's a beacon on the top of this building. A beacon challenging the entrenched power of the corporate financial oligarchy by giving the people information to change a society based upon greed to a society based upon social justice and environmental wisdom. Thank you.
We have one final speaker who's going to give a short statement outlining our education platform, and that's Ralph Pointer, who is a founding member of the United Federation of Teachers.
How are you? Hey, good to see you. Good to see the interest out here today. I started teaching in 1957. The system of public education needs improving, not destroyed. We had a great problem in 57, as you know, the 60s with racism. And here again, we have qualified people who have been successful teaching in the New York City system, and they went right by him, by all of the people, to get Mrs. Black. And we had Bloomberg, who had promised us, if he didn't improve the school system, he wouldn't have to make him go. And what did he do? He failed the school system. He bought the government to extend his time. And now he's going to do his dirty work, destroy the system further. And as was stated here before, the people here should go to the courts if they believe that there is any law left, because the courts have also been hijacked to say that Bloomberg is a racist because he didn't make the position available to people who have proven that they could do the job, and see if they could get an action or to prove that to themselves once again and to all Americans the corruption that is America. So I am glad to see people out here challenging this, because education, the bedrock of democracy. And I dare say Miss Black, if you were to say Jefferson or Dewey to her, she wouldn't have the foggiest idea. And I don't believe Bloomberg has the foggiest idea. Maybe he does know who they are and what they stood for, but he chooses to ignore them. I'm glad people are here today to say no more. It must stop here.
No more! Okay. No more!
Where are your buttons, people? Where are your buttons?
We'll be out of here in a New York.
What happened when you went inside?
They gave us their cards so that we can follow up in terms of the application process.
There is a budget crisis, and it's no secret that they're going to start to take that budget crisis out on the backs of public sector workers and the school system, and teachers, lay off teachers, and they're going to cut out much needed funds. And he needs a person without any sympathy for the students and for the teachers to do this. And that's why he would like a person like Cathie, a business model, a top-down model to do this action.
There's one reason we haven't mentioned yet, and that is poverty. The single factor that is correlated with achievement in public schools or any school is poverty. If you're a child whose parents are out of work and your family is homeless, do you think you can concentrate and achieve in a school the way you ordinarily would? So poverty is correlated with achievement in school. Not the school you go to. You take a homeless child and put the homeless child in a great school. Is that child going to be able to thrive and create and relax? No, because that child's parents don't work. He's homeless or she's homeless. So the important factor to divert our attention away from the people who are behind privatizing the public schools are the billionaires and the hedge fund operators who don't want us to change the economic and social conditions of this country. They don't want to help poor children come out of poverty. They want to create private schools, and poor children and middle-class children who can't afford private schools will be out of luck.
Comes from such a wealthy background means that she's not going to be able to.
But she's not an educator. She's committed to making profit, to taking organizations and enabling them to make profit. That's a perfect person for Bloomberg because he wants to turn the schools into businesses. She will enable little schools to make profit. Does that mean that all the children will be able to go to these little private schools? Of course not.